This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack.
Yeah, man. I'm not bored.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, our Friday edition. Before I start, I want to thank Pags for filling in for me yesterday, as I had some stuff to take care of. Of course, you guys didn't miss a beat in your coverage of sports with all the sport team moves that you guys talked about. It was very interesting. So yesterday, Jack, the Milwaukee Bucks beat Miami 138-123 without Giannis. I don't know if you watched the game or not, but it's another case of a team picking up, playing as a team when their superstar is out. So I was pretty impressed with Milwaukee, Jack.
Well, Mac, that was the day before actually that they played. That the Bucks beat the Heat. So a day late, actually, the three games that took place that we have to analyze are the 76ers, going up 3-0 against the Brooklyn Nets. The Golden State Warriors coming back at home, beating the Sacramento Kings, basically staying alive. They're down 2-1 in that series. And the Phoenix Suns beating the LA Clippers 129-124. And the Clippers didn't have Kawhi Leonard or Paul George, and George has been out a while.
Right.
So the heart of that Clipper team was missing, but the Suns got the win, even though it wasn't overwhelming. Devin Booker had a really big game.
We're going to talk about that too. I just wanted to get those yesterday games out of the way because, of course, we weren't.
Well, yesterday, I'm talking about those were yesterday's.
The day before yesterday. The day before, yes, Jack. The day before.
Max and myself covered it.
The day before, I didn't. So I just wanted to get those in there with Denver beating Minnesota also. And I think Minnesota was your team you picked to go to the championship.
Minnesota was my team. But before you give it to me and tease me for picking them to win it all, they're down 2-0 against Denver. They play tonight. If Minnesota wins, they're back in the series. They're at home. If they go down 3-0, you could start giving it to me unmercifully and keep torturing me till they get eliminated, and then give it to me for a while afterwards. That's fair.
Okay, so Greg, he comes in and says you ducked him yesterday, Jack. It was your fault.
I have no idea. I don't send the links to Greg. I mean, I'm not. Craig's got to take care of it himself, be sure. I'm not the producer. I'm not the director. I mean, I'm just come in as a relief pitcher for Craig. He starts talking about boxing, and I'll maybe come in the 8th inning with guys on base and he's tiring to help him out. That's it. I'm not the producer. I mean, blame Matt, Craig, not me.
Don't blame him. Pags was supposed to have it. He said he had it, and he sent you the link, Craig. So I don't know what happened there. But next Thursday, don't worry. You'll be back on when I'm hosting the show again. We'll make sure you're taken care of. So the 76ers beat the Nets, as you said, 102-97. Tobias Harris had 15 points. Embiid had 14 points and 10 rebounds and a big block shot. Harden, 21 points. Both him, Harden, and Embiid called for flagrant fouls. Embiid with a kick to the groin area. Harden, what looked like just a push off, but I saw the elbow hit the stomach, so that's probably why he's called.
I thought, Mac, it didn't justify Harden being kicked out of the game.
I agree.
I kind of got the feeling it's what's known as a makeup call, because when Embiid gave the kick to the groin, he wasn't kicked out of the game. He wasn't kicked out, and there are people upset about that. They were kind of comparing it a little to what Draymond Green did. So then later when Harden kind of gave the push off, it didn't justify an ejection, just a foul, and it wasn't that bad. With that said, the Nets let that game get away. I mean, they waged a big second half comeback. They had the game in hand. basically fell apart at the end. I'm going to tell you, the one that player I don't like And I don't think he really has performed, even though the numbers might not show it like yesterday. Spencer Dinwiddie tried to take control of the game at the end. And it's good that he had that intestinal fortitude to want to do it, but he's not the guy. He's just an ordinary player. Spencer Dinwiddie is on the level of, let's say, Seth Curry. I know it wasn't Steph Curry, but Seth Curry, of the Brooklyn Nets who comes off the bench. He's that level player, yet he tried to take control of the game. Had a shot blocked by Embiid at the end, missed another key shot, missed a foul shot. He's not the guy, and hasn't been the guy all season long. Yet the Nets are kind of lacking a little bit there. But listen, it's a transition period. It's good they win the playoffs, but it would have been nice to see them grab one game against the 76ers in this series. At least, throw a little concern into the Sixers. Had they won yesterday, it would be 2-1. Would they come back and win the series? No, but at least you're pushing the Sixers. Now the Sixers up 3-0. You could mail it in for Philadelphia for game 4. And even if the Nets somehow win game 4, it's a meaningless game beyond them being able to say, well, we didn't get swept. Because they certainly would get, routed in game 5.
I agree. And as Craig says, Maxey was really the star of the show at the end.
Maxey took over at the end, hitting the big shots, hitting the big 3-point at the end. I mean, Maxey really came on. The Sixers needed someone to really take charge there at the end. I mean, normally it'll be a Joel Embiid, but Maxey went off. I mean, he played like a big, big time play. And you kind of wonder, had James Harden been on the court, would Maxey have been as bold?
Right.
But somehow with Harden out, that opened the door for Maxey, to do what he wants, to do his thing. And he was outstanding, Maxey, at the end. Unlike Spencer Dinwiddie, who tried to be and came up flat.
Well, we talked about Maxey last year. We said that maybe he could be part of a big 3. I mean, this year in the play, he always comes up big in the playoffs or at the end of the year when the team needs him to do something, when their stars aren't doing something. He normally takes over. Also really good on defense, too. So,
but it didn't work out for him quite to be the big 3. Maxey's turned out to be a very good player who might turn out to be a lot better than he actually is right now, which is pretty good. But he didn't really turn into the star we thought he might be. He didn't take the next step. We thought he could be another Jalen Brunson type, play at that level, and it just hasn't quite worked out that way. He's been good, but not quite good enough to make the Sixers an exceptional team. But like you said, Mac, it's playoff time. If he takes his game up a level during the playoffs, that could mean everything for the Sixers.
Very true. Some information on that on the Milwaukee game. Middleton had 18 points. Brook Lopez 25 points. Dave Holiday had 24. Pat Connaughton had 22 points, and as I said, Giannis didn't play. Jimmy Butler had 25 points. Well, they go
back to Miami now. Milwaukee really basically had to win that game after they lost game 1 to even the series of Milwaukee. If they lost game 2 at Milwaukee, all of a sudden you're going back to Miami down 2-0, and you're really in trouble because you're also waking up Miami even more so than they are. If they go up 2-0, they think we're going to win this thing. They're going to think we can win this thing. They're going to think we're absolutely going to win this thing. And then Miami would be extra tough to beat at Miami. But big win. This might be a long series. Giannis is a day-to-day proposition for the Bucks. And it's a difference maker. If Giannis doesn't come back, you have to feel Miami has a little edge here in this series. But Giannis will be back. It's a question of when.
Yeah, even if he comes off the bench until he can get it straightened out, he'll still give him a boost. So we had the Warriors, as you said, come back from behind. They win 117-97.
Big game to Steph Curry. Andrew Wiggins pitched in.
Yeah.
Very good game. And, with Draymond Green out, it helped. They didn't miss him being out for the game. So no harm is done in that. Now, game 4 is at Golden State. If Golden State wins game 4, real toss-up series, you're looking at maybe a 7-game series and it swings towards Golden State's favor, like they could win this in 7. But if they lose, they go down 3-1 to Sacramento. 2 of the remaining 3 games would be in Sacramento. So if you give Sacramento 3 chances to close Golden State out, where Golden State has to win all 3, can Golden State still come back? Absolutely. But what a tough job that's going to be.
Yeah, I agree. And they seem to play better defense without Draymond Green on the floor. It was a more defensive team than I've seen from the Warriors all year. So maybe, again, the superstar, or I shouldn't say superstar because they're really not, but their best defensive player not being out there, it looked like the Warriors picked it up. Everybody was playing defense yesterday.
Well, I think there was an urgency with Golden State. It wasn't just a question of picking up the slack. They're down 2-0. Yeah. These are the defending champions who really believe they're going to repeat, especially with Andrew Wiggins coming back. They're primed. And people forget they lost a tight game 1 to Sacramento that they could have won. Second game, Sacramento won decisively. So there was urgency at Golden State. I mean, it wasn't an elimination game, officially. You have to lose 4 games for that to be. But unofficially, it was like an elimination game for Golden State. Because if they were down 3-0, it's such a long haul, Mac, to win 4 in a row. We've seen teams a lot of times come back from a 3-1 deficit. But how often do you see teams come back from a 3-0 deficit? It's so rare in our lifetime.
Yeah, you're correct. The Suns beat the Clippers 129-124, as you said. Booker not there. Well,
Booker, 45 points. He was, sensational. And interesting question. Kevin Durant comes to Phoenix. And people are automatically assuming, well, he's the main guy. He's their best player. Well, hold on a second, okay? Maybe he is. But you have Devin Booker there. And I think Durant's presence isn't minimizing Devin Booker. If anything, it's taking him up a little level because he wants to show he's an A-side too. Not that he's in direct competition with Durant. Chances are the 2 of them get along really fine and they're going to work along really well together. But Devin Booker is he's the guy at Phoenix. He's the guy. Okay, yeah. It's kind of like with the Celtics. You have a coexisting Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They coexist. We don't know who's the A side, who's the B side there. But I think you're going to have that situation with Phoenix. And hopefully Chris Paul has enough in the tank, there too. And Ayton works the board. So Phoenix is a real threat to win it all.
No doubt. What do you think about Westbrook's performance so far in the playoffs, Jeff?
They lost.
Yeah, I know they lost, but what do you think of his
Westbrook's career? The numbers look great. He scored 30 points. What did he do? Grab about a dozen rebounds, a dozen assists, a bunch of rebounds. The stats look good. Russell Westbrook always provides great stats. Okay? But Al Craig put down Tatum as the A side. It's Tatum and Brown. I don't think it's distinguished in the Celtics' mind. If I had my choice, Tatum or Brown, Craig, I would take Tatum if I absolutely had to pick. But in Celtic land, they're considered one of the same, on a par. But Russell Westbrook, Mac, I mean, he had that interaction with the fan also. I mean, it's like unbelievable, everything that goes on, with the guy is like in Phoenix, like they had this little lounge. I think we're going to talk about it a little on the debate show, a lounge where it's a shortcut for the players to get through. And Russell Westbrook starts getting into it with a fan because the fan used the term Westbrook. So he goes crazy. So by him responding to that, fans are going to continue to say it. And I'm going to tell you, Mac, if a fan ever gets thrown out of the arena for yelling Russell Westbrook, the culture of sports is going to start changing. Okay? I mean, at what point do we draw the line? Mac, in the future, are we going to throw fans out for booing a player? If a fan yells to a player, you're a bum because you missed a shot, is security going to remove the fan? I mean, what the heck is happening? They didn't remove the fan. The Westbrook turns to him like he's going to get into a physical altercation and calls him an MF. I think the league should take action against that. He was vulgar, Westbrook, on his end. Okay? And what did the players expect? Fans just to cheer for them the whole time? I mean, they can't say anything. Listen, I understand lines can't get crossed. You cannot talk about a guy's family. You can't get personal. You can't say certain things. I understand that are too personal, okay, that are hateful. Okay, like early in the year, LeBron asked security to remove someone because they were saying some vicious things about his kids. Those fans should get kicked out of the darn arena. Those fans should get banned from the arena for a period of time, in my view, because they crossed the line. That's unacceptable. But to just call, could you imagine Darryl Strawberry during the World Series and the Red Sox fans went, Darryl, them getting removed? It's absurd.
Well, what will end up happening, Jack, is that people stop going to the games if that's how they're going to do things.
No, people go to the games. Most fans don't say anything. I myself have never yelled out anything. I might make a remark in fun. I went to a Long Island Duck game in the Independent League, and one of the players named Lou Ford, an old timer, former big league player. He's in his 40s. He's up. And when he got up, I'm sitting right in front of the broadcasters, coincidentally as a fan, and I'm going, Lou, just having fun, in that type way. But what happens if Lou, hypothetically, was hitting 112 and I'm going, Lou, just having fun? Can you imagine getting removed security? I mean, I'd love to see a stadium to be completely quiet. The players hated that during the pandemic. They wanted fans there. They wanted feedback. They wanted adulation. Russell Westbrook is carrying this too far. Carrying it too far, okay? And people are picking up on it. I mean, even Pax says he can get on the Russell Westbrook skin more than anyone else. And that's what fans want to do. Yeah. I mean, they want to, if they can help their team win by upsetting an opposing player, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. And tell me this, Mac. Tell me this in your opinion. Why are players allowed to trash talk one another, but fans, are taken to task? Players sometimes are saying some pretty mean things to one another. And if players are allowed to get
I don't think you can compare the two, Jack. I think it's on the field and there's still a big fraternity no matter what they say to each other. It's said and then forgotten.
Not always forgetting.
I said for the most part, it's forgotten. It's done. That's part of the game. I think the fans should be able to say whatever they want within reason. And, it's just something.
I just said that, but let's say one player's guarding another man. Right. He's saying, I was with your mama last night.
Right.
He can get away with that. He's guarding him. And then a fan yells out, hey, I was with your mama last night. And the player goes in, wants to go into the stands after the fan, but he has to accept it on the court. Yeah. I mean, come on.
I don't know. It's not
just give me consistency.
I don't know. Let's get to Major League Baseball. The scores in the news. Boston beats Toronto 11-5. Masataka Yoshida, left fielder, goes 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. Catcher Connor Wong went 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Shortstop Yu Chang, 1 for 4, 2 RBIs. You see a sort of a trend here, Jack. It looks like Boston is really invested in Japanese players. I didn't know that.
mean, Boston, I'm not sure what to make out of this Boston team. They have so many unusual pieces with American players as well.
Yeah.
That, and I don't think baseball team chemistry is as important in baseball as other sports. You just put players in position, they hit, they field. Not like the teamwork you're going to have in basketball or hockey or even, football, kind of know one another. I think you could just pick a bunch of talented guys and just throw them together in baseball and they could perform. Obviously, the pitch and the catcher need chemistry to be on the same page what they're doing. But who cares whether you ever met the outfielder before if you're the pitcher?
Right.
You turn around, you see a stranger. As long as he catches the ball, hits, they got to know where the cutoff man is. Certain basics.
Sure.
I understand that, the double play combination. I'm not saying chemistry doesn't exist, but you can get away with a lot of it. The foreign players, too, how they're going to be scouted is interesting, too. Scouts are going overseas, and you could get certain gems in certain players. It just used to be, you would, check the high schools very carefully here, the colleges, so on, the sandlots. They still do the scouts, but there's a lot overseas going on.
Definitely. First baseman Tristan Casas goes 1 for 2, 2 runs scored. Boston just out hit Toronto. That's plain and simple. The New York Yankees 9, California 3. Volpe 3 at bats, 1 run scored. He's stealing out of bases right now, Jack. He's first.
I like Anthony Volpe. You have to ignore his batting average, which is something like 196. It's all about on-base percentage. And keep in mind with these stolen bases, Anthony Volpe, he could turn a walk into a double, basically, steal second base. Sure. So if he leads off with a walk and steals second, what's the difference between that as someone hitting a double? The difference is the guy who hits a double, you look at his batting average, you go, oh, he's doing real well because he has the batting average. No, it's how the player produces. Anthony Volpe's been electrifying the way he steals bases. I think he's stealing over 50 bases this year. He's going to give the Yankees the type of base-stealing threat they haven't had since, let's say, Ricky Henderson was with them, and that wasn't a peak Ricky Henderson.
Right.
At that time. And he has Brett Gardner type speed, but Brett Gardner wasn't really a base stealer. Brett Gardner's speed was beating out a hit, tracking down the ball in the outfield. But Anthony Volpe, is a genuine base stealer. He has great instincts on the bases, and he's not scared. He's not scared. He's bold on the base paths, and Yankees should be thrilled. They have a great find in Anthony Volpe, only 21. He's going to hit more as he gets older, but I just leave him alone. I'm the Yankee fans. If Anthony Volpe hits 195 this year, steals a lot of bases, plays good defense, we'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when the Yankees went to the World Series in the late 70s there. A lot of it had to do with stolen bases by Mickey Rivers, Willie Randolph, and Roy White. I mean, when they got on the bases, first base, they would take extra bases, and of course, that will line up the RBIs for the other players. So
you look at the Yankee team the way it's constructed. With Aaron Judge, mixed feelings. Aaron Judge could steal a good share of bases. Aaron Judge is quick. He runs very well. But do you want Aaron Judge doing just too much? He's playing on the field on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. But listen, you're paying him $40 million a year. You can't start babying Aaron Judge.
Right.
Listen, guys, on the 162-game schedule, Mac used to routinely play 155 games.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you have the DH. You're going to want to give your best player some time off if there's a Friday night game. I can understand you want to DH him Saturday. If it's a Saturday afternoon game, I'm good with all of that. And the baseball season's such a long haul, night after night after night. And players are going to get tired. It's just the fact, how it is during the year, and it's how you use them. Look, Giancarlo Stanton injured again. And we've talked about these pulled hamstrings, these pulled muscles, these strained quads. Guys cool off in the dugout. Mm-hmm. And then when they get up, they start running quick, and that's what happens. They've got to be on bicycles. They've got to be stretching, not in the dugout directly, but in the tunnel or whatever. They have to have their trainers working with them the whole game, but they cool off. That's what the problem is. Had Stanton been stretched out between innings and they were stretching him out all game, there's a good chance he doesn't get injured. But they sit in the dugout, they wait for 20 minutes, they cool off, and all of a sudden they run quick for the first time in a half hour. Byron could even maybe testify to this because being a former player, he did a lot of quick running. We're talking about Giancarlo Stanton. Now, I was talking about he's out again for a month or so because of strained quad. He's always getting these pulled muscles. And my theory is guys cool off. That's how they get injured. Guys got to be stretched out all the time. You even see on NFL sidelines, guys riding a bike all the time. You can't afford to cool off for 20 minutes and then start sprinting. That's, I think, how you get injured. How do we solve this problem in baseball, for example?
Yeah, I think the trainers need to come up with some heating pads and some things like that to give these guys something constant that they can do. Because, the muscles do cool off, and I think that's when you get these injuries. And in this day and time, you got to keep those muscles warm, either stretched out. And riding the bike and things like that do help solve those problems. That's why they then added that to the sports. And I think they have eliminated the pulls and the injuries and so forth. But you have to keep those muscles warmed up and keep them constantly going. And this day and time, you do see a lot of athletes, once they come off the field, they tend to sit down and just relax. And I think you never do that. You have to do something to make sure that the muscles is still in play mode.
Well, we talked about this before too, Byron. I think they overtrain. They get too big. They use weights too much, and that's how they get a lot of injuries too. Where back in the old days, you just came and you started getting football shape and hitting and stuff, and there were these injuries were not as prevalent as they are today.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did a lot more stretching. It's a different type of stretching that these guys warm up pregame and things like that. And a lot of guys, they wear their headphones and go out there and just do stuff that's not conducive to what they need to be prepared for, I think. And, for the whole 2 to 3 hours of competition. I
agree. So let's get to some Giants news. Daniel Jones talked about tight end Darren Walker. He even he's singing his praises, saying someone on defense has to worry about how to cover this guy in the open field, gives them something to worry about. It opens the field up, take advantage of his skill set. So, I guess if he does stay healthy, this is going to be a big acquisition for the Giants.
Yeah, no doubt. He's been a premier tight end. He's in the top 5, I think. And the only thing was the injuries. And I think this guy have learned to be a professional tight end. But early on he had some off the field issues. But I think if they can just keep him focused and make sure that he stay healthy. One of the things that the Giants do have is Ronnie Barnes, a longtime trainer. He's been there probably close to 45 years or so. And this guy is one of the most respected trainers in the medical field. So he do know how to keep players on the field. And I think that's good. So he's going to a good training group of people that can keep him probably on the football field. And I think that's very important for the Giants this year.
I agree. Conversations needed to be had, Byron. You got some players that need extensions. Of course, we've talked about Saquon Barkley. Xavier McKinney is another one that's coming up for an extension. A great safety, young safety for the Giants. They got They've got to get some kind of either contract or tag on him. You've got Andrew Thomas, the big left tackle, who's been working on building up his upper body strength. He's been so the Giants, like every team, have to figure out who they're going to keep, who they're not going to keep. Saquon doesn't look good at all, Byron. I mean, that is trouble there. They're trying to work with him, but where they hold the upper hand is Saquon doesn't sign this year. He doesn't get paid, sort of like a Le'Veon Bell kind of thing.
Well, he's got to either sit out the year, which he's not going to do, accept his money, a little over $10 million, and he wants a long-term deal. The Giants hold all the leverage here. The worst that's going to happen, Saquon Barkley is going to show up to camp very unhappy, but his personality isn't the type to be a disruption, and he knows if he wants to get paid down the line, he's got to perform big time this year. He has no leverage. Same thing with Lamar Jackson, same situation. If the Ravens don't give him the money, doesn't sign, what's he going to do? Underperform, or if he sits out, starts becoming stubborn, he's going to just devalue himself going forward. So the best thing Saquon Barkley can do, have a great year, and then at the end of this year, you get leverage. I think they can franchise tag him again, but it has to be for a lot more money from what I understand. But, is anything wrong, Byron, with playing it 1 year at a time? Just have great year after great year, and the money will add up. And I'm going to tell you, if they keep franchising tag you, you make more money in the long run, a lot more than on a multi-year deal. But, of course, there's the risk. You have to have a great year 1 year after the other.
Yeah, and that's the only sad thing about it. You want to, if you get hurt and you play in that 1 year, you really dealt, in a hard place as well. So, I wish he would have signed last year when they offered that deal. He would have been making a lot more money than 10 points, whatever it is this year. But yeah, it's really kind of like a rock in a hard place. And running backs, seem like to me these teams are really devaluing running backs, regardless of what kind of season they had. And unfortunately, that's just part of it. But I just think if I was him, I'd just stay focused on trying to have a great year and go out there and play, and then just see what happened after the season, because I think he's gonna get paid somewhere. I don't know where, but I just think that the Giants right now ain't gonna be in a position to pay him really the $15 million or plus that he really wants, like Chris McCaffrey and those guys.
Hey, Byron, I'm glad that Craig is not our GM. You see what he says.
Boy, don't put in any comments by Craig on football. Save him for
Zeke would be better than Saquon Barkley. I see that.
Ezekiel Elliott the term is gas. Ezekiel Elliott, at best, he could be maybe a backup for someone. I don't think there's anything there. I think Ezekiel Elliott is through. But maybe there'll be a revival. But if there's a revival, he's not going to be the player he once was. I mean, way. His slip is more than 1 year. It's been the last 3 years he slipped. And last year was dreadful.
I think Craig was being funny there, Jack. I don't think.
Yeah, he's trying to be funny. But I think Ezekiel Elliott it was just a Cowboy. I think he wanted to play for the Cowboys. If he goes somewhere else, like you say, he'd probably be a good backup.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, they got Ronald Jones, the Cowboys. That's a great acquisition. He's going to have a big year for Dallas. That was a steal for Dallas getting Jones.
And plus, he grew up here in the Dallas area too. So
nice.
There you go. The Giants are finally, they're finally trying to get that linebacker crew together. That was one of the weak spots last year. The other teams could really run on them and pass underneath on them. So, of course, we know they signed Bobby Okereke, and he'll probably be playing alongside Micah McFadden in the middle. Craig, they're both good linebackers, and they're both pretty quick. So that should be a decent middle linebacker crew they'll have anyway.
Yeah, they should. Yeah, I think. Yeah, one of the guys came from the coast, I think. But they should be pretty good on defense. I think their defense is going to be gonna be really improved, and that's what matters. I know next year they got to worry about trying to sign Dexter Lawrence as well, which would be a big plus if they can do all that.
The Giants should draft the best player available to them, but if they're drafting basically on need, number one, I think they badly need a wide receiver, quality wide receiver. And they have some of them available in the draft. If a Jordan Addison is there, they should grab him. I mean, he would have an impact on the Giants.
Yeah, he would be the top 5 wide receivers. I think is gonna be some good players on the next level. So that'd be really good.
Plenty of wide receivers out there.
Mm-hmm.
Byron, let's get some of the NFL news now. In the mock draft, Bryce Young ends up with the Panthers. C.J. Stroud ends up in Detroit, and the Falcons pick quarterback Anthony Richardson. So that's what they have in the mock draft right now for the 3 quarterbacks. I told you I wasn't too big on Bryce Young. I don't think he's big enough to play in the NFL. I think he's sort of like a Kyle Murray who's going to get hurt a lot. C.J. Stroud should be fine. He's a big, strong guy. In Detroit, in the dome, he'll play well. And the big question mark is going to be quarterback Anthony Richards, a big, strong athlete who can really run with the ball. The Falcons love to run the ball, so that makes sense. The thing that I question is his maturity and his passing. So those are things I have as far as questions on him.
Well, I like Anthony Richardson myself, but they drafted DeRilla last year out of Cincinnati too. That they talked about they gonna be their starting quarterback. So I think, but Anthony Richardson probably do need to sit a year or two and learn the system, learn the game. He's very humble, but I just think that these players need to go to the right team, and I think the one thing about the draft, can nobody really predict some of the things that these teams are going to do next week, which is going to be exciting to see what happens.
I think this is you guys know how much I hate the combines. Anthony Richardson is a perfect case. He has no business going in the first round anywhere, period, let alone high in the first round. This is insane. Okay, what's going on? And what's the matter with the Houston Texans? I mean, they're going to pass on C.J. Stroud. Are they out of their mind? They got their franchise quarterback for years. He's going to be outstanding. C.J. Stroud, if I had to compare him to anyone, he's going to be on the level of Justin Herbert, okay? He's going to be on that level, and they're bypassing them now. They might get someone like Will Anderson. They'll get an outstanding player, but you badly need a quarterback. So that's the position you address. I disagree with you, Mac, as far as Bryce Young goes. Unless he gets injured, unless you're right on that element that he's too small, I think he's going to be an outstanding quarterback for years to come. He's going to be really, really good. Both Young and Stroud are going to be really good. And the rest of them, Will Levis, I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical. There's a whole bunch of quarterbacks that could be gotten on the lower level, okay? 4th, 5th round. I don't know which one it's going to be, but of all of them, I'm sure one of them is going to emerge and be outstanding. I just don't know which one.
Yeah, I think Will Levis was compared to Josh Allen a little bit. No. I mean, that's what they compared him to. I'm just saying he was compared to Josh Allen, but I just think in a year or two we'll all find out. It's just like something like Zach Wilson. Some of these guys just overrated. They're not put in a position. They're not even put in a position to mature. I think you still got to have a season of maturing and getting used to the game, the chemistry, and all that. And I think it's confidence. It's a confidence factor. So if you look back in the class that I was drafted in, Dan Marino was probably one of the spectacular quarterbacks that they overlooked. It went down to the 27th pick or something like that, which I think some of these quarterbacks need to be seasoned. But I think too, if you get the guys to be quarterbacks too early, it could be very devastating as well.
the problem with that, Byron, is, and I agree with you. I think quarterbacks should sit on the bench, even the great ones, for at least a year. But when you draft them that high, they feel obligated to play these guys like a Zach Wilson and it's not me, Jack. I'm just saying how I think the teams look at this.
No. But Anthony Richardson did nothing in college for Florida. What did he do?
Right. Well, he won games, Jack. He won games he won games with his legs, and that's what they're looking at right now. It's sort of like I sort of compare him to Jackson. He's not a great thrower, right? He's got a big arm. He's not that accurate yet, but he can change the game with his legs. And
Lamar
I think
Jackson had more of a college pedigree at Louisville.
True. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I agree with that. But I think physically, he's a big guy. He can run real fast. He's a freak athlete for a quarterback. Probably be the best running back on the Atlanta team. I think he starts right away. I really do, Byron. That's my opinion.
Well,
Maybe not.
Atlanta right now, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because Desmond Ridder is going. They're committed to him being the quarterback. Now, he was a 4-year start at Cincinnati. And that's rare in the NFL where you're getting a quarterback playing him that started 4 years, and he carried the clipboard for a year for the most part.
Good point. Yeah. Good point.
But he's as ready as could be. The question with Desmond Ridder, is he good enough? Cincinnati, they overachieved that team getting into the national playoffs. You guys tell me, is Desmond Ridder really good enough to be a franchise quarterback? I don't know. I think
he'll be okay because he's very confident in himself. So that's a good thing.
Draft Anthony Richardson. So why are you, Byron, agreeing with Mac?
No, I'm not saying. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if you need Anthony Richardson there because you're gonna have a quarterback controversy, right? So I don't think you really need him there, but it could be good for the team because you got two quarterbacks that you can interchange.
Jack just said best athlete available. Yeah, and that's where
Richardson. Player, not athlete. Athletes are a dozen. Anthony Richardson's a great athlete. The way he could do his backflips, do this. Give him a trampoline, let him bounce and get him into gymnastics.
Let me get the
Anthony Richardson. Listen, we heard this about Malik Willis last year. What an arm. One of the best arms you're going to see anywhere. You want to know why? Because Malik Willis was just throwing to receivers who weren't being guarded, and he was rocketing the ball, and everyone was at least the teams were smart at the end. They waited to the third round. Now Tennessee took Malik Willis, and now they're in the market for a quarterback. Even though they have Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis there, they're looking to transition. Let's talk of Will Levis. Eventually winding up at Tennessee, who goes number 11.
We'll see.
But you need to load up two good quarterbacks on every team. I don't care what nobody say. You got to have you two good quarterbacks.
But you got Tannehill and Malik Willis there. So you have your two quarterbacks. So obviously one of them isn't thought of being that good if you're going to draft Will Levis.
Yeah, that's true. You're absolutely right.
Now, Craig says, hopefully the Lions don't pick a quarterback. We can all make a run right now, what we have. I don't know about that, Craig. I don't know if you can make a run with the quarterback you have right now. I think he's a good quarterback, very good quarterback, and I think he went to Super Bowl once, but he's got the experience. But I think if you can get C.J. Stroud right away, I'd pick him. I'd pick him in a minute.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mac. I understand Craig's viewpoint, because they're ready to make a serious run at the Super Bowl, the Lions. And if you get C.J. Stroud, chances are he doesn't help you next year because he's not going to be a starter next year, but he's a franchise quarterback. So what do? Do you look into your whole future? Jared Goff, I don't think is your answer long term, but he might be. That's the thing about it. He's not going to be an exceptional quarterback. Jared Goff could be another Kirk Cousins type, and he's taken the Rams to a Super Bowl before, so you could say he's even more accomplished in that sense. It's a tough call for the Lions. What do you guys do? If you have a franchise quarterback fall to you like a C.J. Stroud, do you get him? Because once you draft C.J. Stroud, in the first round, you're sending a message to Jock
Jared
Wright.
Goff, yeah.
He's not your future.
Yeah.
He's not your future, and it's hard to make a run at the Super Bowl when the guy knows, you drafted someone else to replace him ultimately.
Yeah,
And
well,
plus, Jared Goff had a good year last year.
yeah, he did pass for a lot of yards. But I know my prediction will happen. The Goff will go and the Jets will pick him up because they couldn't get Aaron Rodgers. So that's what my prediction is for next year.
Wow.
That'll be a good bet there. That's a good bet.
Goff won't be let go this year. No, the Lions won't move on from Goff this year.
Yeah, next year.
They're in win-now mode, even if they got Stroud. I have no idea. You guys got to help me out. What are the potential Jet plan Bs if the Rodgers thing falls through? It's easy to say, well, we want Matthew Stafford, but the Rams would want good compensation in return too. They're not moving on. Someone's got to quarterback the Rams next year. So I'm not sure who's exactly out there. I mean, I know names, but I'm not sure what's the best fit. I mean, does a Hendon Hooker fall to the Jets in the second round? And did they actually draft him? Do they make a value pick? The Jets never wanted to draft Chad Pennington. People don't realize that. The Jets had 4 number 1 picks that year. They went with John Abraham and Sean Elliott at number 12 and 13. And Chad Pennington was there when they picked number 18, and they said the value's too great to turn down. They had Vinny Testaverde. That was a value pick. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. I remember that.
Yes. We've got the a lot of the offensive linemen are projected to go in the first round. They say maybe up to 16, Byron. You can't go wrong in the first round with an offensive lineman. They don't get hurt, and they're there normally for a long time with you. So I think that's something that a lot of coaches and GMs look for. We'll talk about this with Pags, but I want to get your thoughts on it. Eagles signed Jalen Hurts to a huge contract extension, $255 million for 5 years, $51 million a year, $179 million guaranteed, just below what Deshaun Watson got, putting him in the top 5 quarterbacks on a yearly salary. Is it worth it, Byron?
Well, I think it's worth it. At least you got a young quarterback that just had the experience of playing in the Super Bowl and was close to winning it, and could have been an MVP of the league. So if he can just keep him healthy, like you said, the offensive line is solid, the defensive line is solid. So I just think you have to make a decision. Say, give this guy some money and give him so he don't have to worry about nothing. Just focus on winning games and put us back at the Super Bowl. I think that was a good decision on that part. I think what a lot of teams mess up at is they go back and forth and see if this player can fit. But I think when you got some special talent, he's doing everything right. As long as he continue to go in these meetings early, be a leader in and off the football field, I think that's what you want in your franchise, in your franchise player.
Yeah, I think. How we doing, Pags?
Good. How about yourselves?
Good. I think your ears were burning. We were just talking about the Jalen Hurts contract and how much he's going to be making. $255 million over 5 years, $51 million a year, $179 million guaranteed. What do you think, Deshaun? What do you think that Jackson is thinking right now? I mean, first Deshaun Watson gets all this money. Now here comes Hurts getting all this money, and Jackson is lucky to get a franchise tag with the Ravens.
That he is, he's going to wait it out. He can't be worried about what anybody else is doing. He's got to worry about himself. So I think that's just really what's going to, matter. We were going to find out real quickly here because he's going to have to make a decision whether he's going to sign that tender or he's going to wind up not. And If he doesn't sign the tender, I mean, at that point, he's going to sit out for an entire year. I mean, I guess he could do it that way, and then they could do it again. They could play hardball here with him, but I think that everybody's going to want to, come to a conclusion on this.
Yeah, I would think they want to
Yeah,
take it one way or the other.
From what I understood, the Ravens did offer like 111 million guaranteed for 3 years. Okay,
Right.
something like that. They just didn't want to go 5 years because of the injury history. But Lamar Jackson kept pointing to the Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed deal. He wanted a fully guaranteed deal. 111 million guaranteed. It would have been more than that had he been able to stay on the field. They would have did a 5-year thing, but they wanted to be covered in case of an injury. But it still would have been big money. I mean, if you take the 111 million guaranteed, I mean, you're pretty much set for life. And if you don't get injured and can play longer, you're getting your money after all. I mean, it's all. I think Lamar Jackson's standing on principle to a degree, thinking I'm worth every bit as much as Deshaun Watson. I'm a former MVP. I'm the franchise player. But with that said, the Jalen Hurts deal is win-win for Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. They got their quarterback the next 5 years. His performance isn't likely to slip that much. If it slips at all, he'll still be good, even if he slips. And he might get better. Who knows? I mean, he might actually get better, Jalen Hurts, but all he has to be is what he is now the next 5 years, and it's good thing for the Eagles.
I agree. But I think that it was funny because what did I hear that Lamar Jackson said that he didn't necessarily want the whole contract guaranteed. He just wanted more than Deshaun Watson had guaranteed. So you could have it for 10 years. You can give him a 10-year contract. He just didn't, he wanted to have more guaranteed money than Deshaun Watson was. So it was like so ridiculous. This is the problem when you decide that you don't want to have an agent. So that's really what this is.
I don't blame that on the agent.
I do.
Byron understands these things being with the players union. Because his mother's his agent, she becomes an easy mark. But she's a woman too. But Jalen Hurts is represented by a woman. Okay.
By his girlfriend.
Okay, but
I don't know what's worse.
But the best deals to work out are ones that leave all parties happy. The Jalen Hurts deal, Jalen Hurts gave in a little. He could have pushed the issue more, but he got a good deal and one that the Eagles could comfortably live with as well. You don't want to push it to the limit. And the only reason that the Deshaun Watson deal was made the $230 million guaranteed, he didn't want to go to Cleveland, Deshaun Watson. They had to overwhelm him, and they badly needed a quarterback because they didn't want to move forward with Baker Mayfield.
Listen, Jack, I think Pags has it right. If Lamar Jackson had an agent, this would have been settled a long time ago. They know how to deal. They know the paperwork. They know the owners. This would have been done a long time ago.
Well, Byron could tell you the players union they're not going to negotiate for Lamar Jackson, but they will help him uphold his rights, explain everything in the contract. See, he doesn't get shafted that way. The numbers game is something he's got to work out. Right, Byron?
That is true. That's true.
Don't bring Byron in here. Don't bring Byron in here. It's not the same, Jack.
But he understands the players.
But it's not. Jack. It's not the same. Somebody that supports you and somebody directly deals with the owners are two different things, and that's why this is dragged on.
Yeah, and you both are right, but like for the agents, they definitely have a relationship with a lot of owners and general managers, so. It will be very helpful if he had somebody in that space, to kind of help direct them a little bit more.
They also get that's 5%. They get their 5%.
They can get 3%. It's negotiable with a guy like that. You can pay him 2% and have a good agent. So it's negotiable. 5%
of $200 and something million, Jack. That guy pay that any day, no problem. He can have his $50,000 or whatever that is. Pax. Pat Patricia. Is I say it right? Matt Patricia
Matt.
is your new defensive senior coach over there. What do you think about that move?
Meh. I don't think it makes a big
Okay.
difference. I mean, he's not the defensive coordinator. I mean, I think that he was good with the Patriots when he did that, but when he was there doing that, I think he wanted to get away from Bill Belichick, and this was the only job that was open. So I don't know that it's a big deal.
Rumors are Aaron Judge is next to go to the Philadelphia. That's the rumor. That's the rumor I hear.
Aaron Judge.
Yeah, I heard something to the effect Bill O'Brien, who's running the offense for the Patriots this year, who came back. Him and Patricia didn't exactly see eye to eye, and O'Brien is completely in charge of the offense in New England. That's why he came back. So Patricia kind of is caught in the position of not having that much authority. Your favorite coach, Mac, you and Byron's favorite coach, Joe Judge, is back to his roots with New England, with special teams he's working with New England.
Time. It's about
that's
time.
His space. That's good. That's a good move.
That's where he belongs, right at the special teams.
Well, he didn't exactly do well with special teams with the Giants as well.
He wasn't.
He wasn't a good head coach either. He was too busy worried about what other teams are doing rather than worrying about his own team.
Hey man, can you put the players out there and run them to death on special teams?
That's right. He can run them to death. There you go. Pags, NBA. Maxey has a huge game for you guys coming down the stretch because Embiid and Harden were out of the game with flagrant fouls. Let's talk about Maxey first.
Embiid wasn't kicked out. Harden was kicked out.
Well, he got a flagrant.
He been kicked out, and Harden shouldn't have been kicked out. It should have been flip-flopped, if anything.
Right.
All right.
But
well, let's talk about Maxey first. Maxey had a heck of a game. 25.
No, he had a heck. Excuse me. He had a heck of 5 minutes. He did not have a great game. He just had a great 5 minutes where he had 10 points in a row. And was able to keep the Sixers in it and then give them the lead. I think that was as I like to call it, the hiney hole pucker from of the Brooklyn Nets. They squeezed a little too much, and they wind up losing.
I mean,
they had that game. They had that game to win, and Sixers should have lost that game, and they didn't.
Mac correctly is giving Maxey his due, his credit for winning the game for the Sixers, and you're trying to diminish Maxey's contribution. Well, he had only a good 5 minutes, inferring that it's, he didn't really produce.
How many points do you have for the game, Jack?
Yeah, that cold stat. Listen, it's.
What do you mean? What do you mean that don't matter? What do you mean he only had 10 points?
James
Maxey had 25 points.
Right, but he had the last 10 points for the Sixers, really. 10 of the last 13 points for the Sixers.
He had a chance to step up because Harden was kicked out of the game. Harden was going to score over 30 points in all probability had he remained in the game. Harden was,
I agree with Jack. You're diminishing the man. If he didn't play like that at the end, you guys lose.
Yeah, Maxey saved the day for the Sixers.
Absolutely. You are absolutely correct about that. I'm not diminishing that part. I am saying that, the Nets blew it.
You know what I'm seeing during this series that I kind of like with the Sixers? And I don't know, Byron, how well you know Doc Rivers, his coaching thing. He's doing a great coaching job this series against the Nets. He's getting the Sixers ready for the next round. I mean,
it's about time he started coaching. He done learned a little bit, so he's been around a long time. This is his last chance to really get it done right. So he better step it up.
I mean, he's calling the players to the huddle, giving a timeout, chewing them out, letting them know. I mean, Doc Rivers, as a coach, he might be a difference maker going forward.
Well, he needs to do something. It's about time.
So what's up with Embiid? What's he kicking people in the groin about, Pags? What's wrong with this guy?
Well, you can't be tackling them and then expecting not to have any retribution on that. I mean, that's kind of what happened. One gets the technical, he gets the flagrant one. So, and then you got Harding getting a flagrant two, which is ridiculous. So there's I don't know. I think like there's this is the ripple effect of the Draymond Green thing. You know what I mean? I think that they were just like, oh, well, we got to go ahead and make something happen here real fast, and it's before we lose control of the game. And it. I don't know. I feel like refs are weird. They just
Okay.
they really over officiated that call.
Yeah, and one of the things about
All right.
playoff basketball, it really gets physical. I mean, it really, the referees, they let them play, but maybe they need to start just be consistent in their making their calls and stuff. So that might be another factor.
Agreed.
Yeah, speaking of
Well,
PJ Tucker, he gets called for foul. All he did, I think it was Dinwiddie. He just put his hand on him gently, very gently. It was, as he went up, his hand, I don't even want to say make contact. It just touched. That no bearing on the play, and they went to a replay, and it was still upheld the foul. I mean, how do you play defense in the NBA anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, they were over officiating.
Mm-hmm.
To try to get control of the game because there was a lot of physicality in this game.
Yeah.
And I think that, ultimately, he said the Nets should have won that game. There's no reason why the Nets should have lost, but they, pooped the bed.
Well, there you go. Pags, what's going on with the Phillies that get beat by the Reds 13-0, Pags?
The Reds 13-0. This was last night. Was it 13-0?
Yeah.
It was
13-0
4-0 last time I checked. And so they score what? 9 runs in the 9th inning
9 more runs
against the
Pags.
Rockies.
13-0.
Against the Rockies.
The Reds.
The Reds. They played the Reds like a week ago.
Well, they played. Says what I got is they lost to the Reds 13-0. Unless the paper's wrong.
Like a week ago.
Mac likes the older
Let me see.
news to go.
Yeah, they played the Rockies yesterday. There was 4-0 yesterday. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, the game was 5-0.
5-0. So they scored an extra run in the 9th. I was too busy bartending. So, this is the same trajectory as they did last year. Last year, they started off slow. The bats have started off slow. Turner, who had such a great game, World Classic, hasn't hit a home run yet. Schwarber has hit 4 home runs, but and I think that's the only 4 hits he's just about had. So they're just not warm yet, and they're not cohesive yet. I think it'll come.
Okay.
I think expect, get 40 games underneath them, and then you'll start seeing the turnaround.
Yeah, and they're not playing. I mean, they 8-12 right now, so they really 4 games away from being 500. So it's not bad.
Right. Think about what's been going on with the Dodgers. The Dodgers have been stinking up the joint. Do you think the Dodgers aren't going to be able to make a turnaround either? No, I think it's just the way baseball is a little bit. You wind up seeing that that the Braves are winning games right now. I think they'll come back down to earth. So there's going to be. I think this is just the beginning of baseball. That's all it is. Let's see what happens in May.
Speaking of the Dodgers, Mookie Betts played shortstop yesterday. He came and filled in, turned the double play. And Mookie Betts said he played shortstop in high school. He feels comfortable at shortstop. So it's funny, Mookie Betts might actually be used as a fill-in at shortstop for the Dodgers going forward. I mean, who would have thought that at this stage of his career?
Get him to play wherever he can, I guess.
I mean, these guys play. Yeah, these guys have played a lot of different positions during their playing time, so matter of just getting back into the swing of things. I mean, you can look at Kalefa last night playing center field. He had a great game out there in the outfield. Two great catches. So these guys have played other positions, and it's just a matter of getting out there and doing it again.
As long as he's not playing short.
We're welcoming
Right,
Keith
Keith?
to the show or what? How long does he have to hang around before
What's up, Keith?
I'm just
we're gonna welcome him.
see Byron. It's really
We're-
Listen, I was just going to
Keith
say,
show's too popular. Keith show was too popular.
Hey, Keith,
Show's
did you
too
know my
popular
middle name
already.
is Keith?
We keep them enough.
what's that, Byron?
Did you know my middle name is Keith?
I did not know that. That's
My,
awesome.
my mom used to call me Keith every now and then when I was a good boy. But when I was a bad boy, everybody called me Byron. So
Oh, that's good. So you see, everybody, all the good people are named Keith that I know. And by the way, IKF just
Keith, let's get to the
real quick about IKF playing center
Yeah,
field.
right.
As long as he's not playing shortstop, Mac, I'm happy. That's fine.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we got a good shortstop right now, but let's get to the next. Thibodeau wins the most undesirable title. NBA players a poll of 53 on the coach you would like to not to play for. Thibodeau was the first. They said if he's your guy, if you're his guy, he'll pay you 44 minutes a game. If not, you're going to ride the bench. Listen, Thibodeau is a hard coach to get along with if you're not playing well. So I don't know if that's to be most undesirable or not. It probably.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What's wrong with that, by the way? If if you don't play well, you don't play. What a novel concept. I mean, geez. Thibodeau gets a bad rap, man.
Keith, Obi Toppin's not his guy. And with Obi Toppin, if he went elsewhere, chances are he'd be a starter, log a lot of minutes. I think that's
Probably. But you look at who are you going to sit? You're going to sit Randall to play Toppin more than he sits now? I wouldn't. I think, you got to look at who's playing ahead of him. And these polls, too, who, disgruntled players are always going to vote against the guys that they didn't play him or whatever. I mean, whatever. I mean, as long as he wins, I don't care. They like him or they don't like him.
All right. Doc Rivers, by the way, finished fourth on that list of players who don't want to play for a coach. So Doc Rivers goes in the top 4 along with Thibodeau.
I would have thought Doc would be a player's coach.
But I don't know. I
I'm
think
not
it's
sure
because
either.
Pags don't like him. They hear Pags talking about it. Yeah. All
That
right.
could be. That they got.
So,
they listen to what I got to say.
Let's. Yeah, that's right. So let's get to the Yankees, of course. You've got Volpe, not a great bat, but he's on base, steals a lot of bases. I think he leads the league right now. And in today's baseball, that means a lot more, as Jack was saying, than the average, because you need people on base to score runs. Simple.
Yeah. No, I like the way he's carrying himself. The average, I think, look, he's not going to hit 300 this year. But if he just does okay at the plate, gets on base, which he's doing, he's walking a lot. You said he's adding a dimension of speed to the base pass, which the Yankees haven't had a lot of in recent years, and he's making all the plays on defense. That's all I can ask for from this kid. I don't need him to be, Derek Jeter in year one. I just need him to make the plays and not, and get on base. He's getting on base. He's hitting only about 190 maybe, but he's getting on base a lot. Plus, he carries himself really well. That's the thing that I'm impressed with.
Derek
This kid
Jeter
is-
wasn't that great his first. Yes, and Derek Jeter didn't have a great year his first year either, Keith. So let's
No, but he was certainly a much
Anthony
better player
Rizzo,
than the
I think
beginning.
Yes,
We got a
Anthony
delay.
Rizzo
That's-
has a big game. Goes 3 for 3.
Yeah, Rizzo's playing. Listen, the team's playing well.
Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting a delay from you. I don't know why, Mac, but I will speak to Rizzo's playing well. Judge is playing well. This team's playing well. They're 12-7. They're still 4 games out of first because of the Rays' hot start, but there's nothing to panic about other than maybe the starting pitching is a little bit worrisome because Rendon's now got another back problem to go along with his arm problem, and I was worried about this from the beginning. As long as the starting pitching doesn't collapse, I think this team will certainly be fine. The Rays aren't going to continue playing, 800 .850 baseball all year. So I think the team's off to a fine start, and you couldn't hope for more.
But this is good. In a way, the Yankees have a lot to look forward to, Keith. Rendon is going to come back. Severino, Montes.
Hopefully.
I don't know Montes' status exactly, but before the year's out, I mean, everything might come together, and especially with the playoffs. I mean, they probably are going to make the playoffs, but
yeah, Frankie Montes is probably the least likely.
Without three of their starters there to play as well as they have, I mean, it's a nice sign.
They've done very, very well. They've had a couple of nice fill-in starts from Brito. He had one bad start the last time. He got hammered, but he's still got a couple of good starts out of him. So, with everything, all things considered, I think their start is certainly acceptable in my mind. Are
you concerned about the bullpen, though, long term?
I think the bullpen will be a strength of this team going forward. I really do. And assuming Holmes can pitch like he pitched, the first half of last year, I think this bullpen's really good. Loaizaga can pitch in any situation. He's kind of the key to me in that bullpen. And I like the other guys too. I just think the bullpen will be okay. It's the starters I worry about. I mean, Cole, Mac's favorite guy. Now I know he's a big Cole fan now that he's pitching lights out. So, but Cole's been the best pitcher in baseball for the first month. I get it; it's early.
Mac wanted them to trade Cole and not re-sign Judge. That was Mac's. Mac's a hard liner.
That was my plan.
I guess Mac's the only guy that I wouldn't want to replace Brian Cashman. I want him out, but I don't want him out in favor of Mac.
Listen, Mac would surprise you some of the moves he'd make if he were the GM. He would bring in guys too. He'd bring in like Pete Alonso as a free agent and so on.
We'd have Roy White playing left field again, probably.
Hey guys, I have to go. I'll see you guys later.
See you, Byron.
Hey,
all right,
Byron.
Okay. Take care, buddy.
All right, bye.
Take it easy. All right, Byron Williams, NFL analyst, comes with us every Friday. Great NFL analyst, former NFL star wide receiver. Keith, how is it now with the? Are you still getting a delay?
Well, I guess you tell me.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Yes, you are getting a delay.
It's Mac, right? It's Mac's getting a delay.
Yeah, it is Mac. Mac is the delay.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I am. Peraza makes his first appearance. He goes 1 for 2, plays second base. I mean, you've got a couple young, possibly a couple young future stars on the team, Keith, that will be around with the Yankees for a long time.
Yeah, I was happy to see him get brought up here with Donaldson going down. And I mean, to me, if Peraza can handle the major leagues like he showed he could in a brief stint last year, I think that this could be your second base shortstop combination for a lot of years. And Gleyber might be trade bait for a starting pitcher or a left fielder or, something as we go forward here into May and June. I would watch that. I'm glad Gleyber's off to a decent start because he's more valuable.
Mistake to move on from Gleyber Torres. It would be a mistake. Let him be a second baseman and Volpe a shortstop for years to come. You're set. And we don't know how good Peraza is eventually going to be. I would think you could move him to third base because Josh Donaldson, in any event, this is his last year as a Yankee. So Peraza is really good. He's at third base. And DJ LeMayo will be an ultimate utility player moving around to all the positions.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that except the Peraza-Gleyber Torres comparison because I know what Gleyber Torres' ceiling is, and he hit it already, and he can't do it consistently. He's shown that for the last few years. So I trade him while he's hot and find some value for him, not when he's not.
Well, Torres will play any position on the team. I mean, he was even taking catching practice. I mean, I would not want to get rid of a guy that's willing to play every position and is a good offensive player. I would not get rid of him, Keith.
He's an okay offensive. I think people are overrate Gleyber. I really do. Listen, he's not a bad player. I'm not saying he's bad, but I have a position of strength in the middle of the infield. And I've got weaknesses in left field. I got weaknesses at third base. I got weaknesses in the pitching staff. If I got to trade somebody, who are you going to trade? You got to trade value to get value. The most likely guy to go is Gleyber Torres. Who else are you
You
going to trade?
don't get frontline pitching in this day and age in a trade unless you're trading a superstar player to another team. You won't get it for position player. So Gleyber Torres is going to get you a so-so pitcher, at most. He's not going to get you an ace on someone's staff, So
Whoever it is going to get hurt anyway, so it won't matter. Everybody they trade for gets hurt, so I don't know. Again, everybody's got their own opinion.
I would rather have Gleyber Torres in center field than Cleffa, even though Cleffa had a good game.
Assuming he can play the position, I'm okay. I have not seen Gleyber Torres play the outfield. I would
wait. So you guys, the Yankees do have a guy who could play some center field. Do you guys feel they should just cut him right now? He hasn't played the last couple of games. Aaron Hicks.
No, Hicks could go away to 2 months.
They owe him a lot of money. They don't want to. You don't get rid of a guy who you owe close to $40 million to that easily. I know the Diamondbacks got rid of Madison Bumgarner yesterday. All that, but
Jack, we're talking about the New York Yankees, not the Kansas City Royals. They can afford to cut Aaron Hicks in his $10 million. They can. I'm sorry, they can. And Bader comes back. He'll be the center fielder. Hicks is going to be a man without a position anyway. At some point, they're going to have to pull the trigger on Aaron Hicks this year. And if they don't have to pull the trigger on Aaron Hicks, then it doesn't bode very well for the Yankees season in my mind.
There you go.
Well, but then you're going to say, too, they should move on from Josh Donaldson this year?
I would have moved on. I would have moved on from both of them in the offseason. Yes.
He may not finish out the season anyway. He's hurt. He's done.
I would.
I could see them moving on from.
Sounds like a lot of discontent in Yankeeville.
There is some.
No, but Aaron Hicks, you could ride it out with them as a bench player and put him in now and then, worst case scenario, and see what goes on. But you can't do that with Josh Donaldson. Too big of a personality. He's a starter when he comes back. You can't ride him on the bench and get away with it. You could kind of get away with it with Aaron Hicks. You could figure, look, it's a bad investment, but maybe he'll start hitting and fielding again. You could kind of hide him, give him a roster spot. But I think with Donaldson, either Donaldson comes back and produces immediately. I think the Yankees are going to make a decisive move if they feel Peraza is ready.
Yeah, I don't disagree because he cannot ride the bench. You're right. This injury may play out a long time. He may spend a lot of time.
I don't think the Yankees are upset that Donaldson's hurt in a way. A part of them is probably relieved they don't have to deal with the situation.
I think they'd be happy if this injury lingers, and maybe it'll be a made-up injury that lingers. Who knows?
So let's get to the Patriots, Keith.
Yep.
Patricia goes to the Eagles as their defensive assistant. Are the Patriots happy to get rid of Patricia?
I'm sure. I mean, again, this was kind of an albatross hanging around the team. What was his role? And listen, Matt Patricia is a good football man. He's a good soldier. And I think the way the Patriots treated him sucks, to be quite honest with you. He didn't want to be the offensive coordinator last year, which he wasn't. Sorry. He didn't want to be the play caller. He didn't ask for that job. Belichick put him in a position where he was going to fail. And now he's paying the price for it. And I think the way they've treated this guy stinks.
Okay.
Patricia, he's gone to the Eagles. So this involves Pags now. What is he going to be an advisor of, an assistant of? I mean, the Eagles are all set. They're a very strong team. I mean, can he just upset things going there? I mean, the idea is for him to help, but how
he's going to be the linebackers coach. Let's face it. He's going to be the linebackers coach. That's what he is. That's you could call him whatever he wants. He's doing linebackers
because it's a big personality. He was a former head coach with the Lions, a main assistant under Belichick. He can't just come to Philadelphia and be an obscure guy if he's on the field. I mean, if he's, at the practices, you kind of wonder what the other coaches are thinking or whatever. They're probably thinking, why do we need him here? We're set.
Smart minds in football never go bad. If you are somebody who has won a championship, and it doesn't matter how you did it, obviously he couldn't run his own team in Detroit because Detroit was a hot mess in general. You know what I mean? So it's, I think he's going to be fine here. I don't know that it's a big deal. Yeah, you put another smart guy in, in the defensive room. The Eagles work off of two head coaches. That's their MO. Obviously, Nick Sirianni is the main guy and is going to field all of the questions. But they have two head coaches on how they do things. And now you have somebody there who's got some head coach experience, would be able to advise the defensive coordinator to, what's going on. And just like I said, having another smart mind in the room. That's why certain head coaches go back to being coordinators, and they do really well. So I kind of think the same situation here.
Yeah, he is, by the way, smart. You'll hear this a lot, Pegs. He's literally a rocket scientist, Matt Patricia. Graduated right up the road here at RPI Engineering Institute, and he's a brilliant guy.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so I have no doubt that this is a good thing.
So some I don't know if it's big news or not about your owner there, Keith. Robert Kraft. He has a $45 million mansion, and he has an elevator. And they he's I guess they're questioning why he has an elevator when he's playing tennis and golf. I mean, I don't get the whole thing here. I don't know. Are they investigating him for something? Are they?
Why is this a story? Because if I had Robert Kraft's money, I'd have a freaking elevator in my house too. I mean, why not? I mean,
why does it care? Who cares on what he has in his house?
I mean,
That's become unsafe when you get older. So he shouldn't have to go up and down the stairs. He goes on the elevator. It's a safety thing, smart move. However, if that elevator malfunctions and he gets stuck.
must have been a slow news day. Like this is, whoever reported this story, I don't get the relevance.
It's one of the New England papers, Keith.
I'm sure. I mean, they're. I mean, good grief. I mean, okay.
Are they?
Does he have a massage table in the elevator? That would be news.
Well, that's a good point.
Keith, speaking of the Robert Kraft and the Patriots, any Patriot news on the draft? I mean, I get the feeling if I had to predict who they're going to take, I'm having a feeling Joey Porter, the cornerback, drops to them, and that's who they could be eyeing because Belichick is big on defense, of course.
I like Porter a lot. I think the Patriots do, but I think it's just as likely the Patriots trade down out of that spot. Maybe even out of the first round eventually. It's possible because this first round, a lot of people want to trade down. They don't want to pay the money for the value you're going to get out of this first round. It's not a bad draft, but it's not a great, high talent level throughout the first round. He may trade out or backwards or out of the first round. And the guy I see maybe coming is a cheaper version of Porter, and he's picking up some steam the last week or so. Is Devin Weatherspoon from Illinois, cornerback. He's getting a lot of chatter this week, especially. I think we trade down. I really do. And then maybe a wide receiver in the second round, maybe.
That's something that Belichick does almost every year anyway. He always trades down, get as many draft choices as he can. So,
I'd be shocked if he takes a pick where he is.
Yeah. Guys, we didn't take a break at the top of the hour. I'm going to take one right now and give you guys a quick break. We'll be back on the other side. We'll talk a little.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check out. I got a meeting at 9:30. I sent you a text, so I'm going to check out if you're going to take a break now. Okay?
All right. Sounds good, buddy.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Keith Engle with TGI Sports. Always glad to have him here on Friday. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk a little NHL when we get back. And after that, a little bit of boxing. We'll be right back after these promotions. Folks, stick with us.
He was a giant, and he was a cowboy. Now these two former rivals have joined forces to bring you the most insightful, perceptive, and controversial sports talk podcast in America. Former Dallas Cowboys defensive end Jim Jeffcoat locks horns with former New York Giants wide receiver Byron Williams. And now, here's Byron Williams and Jim Jeffcoat. If you like the sweet science, get ready to talk boxing on the Gloved Fist podcast.
Technical difficulties.
My board, sometimes, I swear to God, dude.
It just might be the greatest sports franchise in the history of sports. A place where legends are made, and there's always something to talk about. Get ready to immerse yourself in pinstripes. Start spreading the news, hosted by Paul Semendinger and E.J. Fagan, a couple of doctors with a prescription for Yankee fever. And now, here's Dr. Paul Semendinger and Dr. E.J. Fagan. Get ready to start spreading the news. If you like the sweet science, get ready to talk boxing.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboys fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get any?
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. I'm your host, Mac, your co-host, Jack Hirsch. And though you probably don't recognize him, that's the Philly sports guy who joins us every Friday. Glad that you could make it in and join us. Let's get a little bit to the NHL. The playoffs, of course, are going. I really haven't been following like I should. Probably Stanley Cup, I'll be more involved in it. But I know Pags follows this pretty good, so I'm glad he's on with us. Last night's scores, you had the Stars beating the Wild 7-3. The Oilers beat the Kings 4-2. Toronto beats Tampa Bay 7-2. The Rangers 5. The New Jersey Devils 1. The Avalanche beating Kraken 3-2. The Knights beating the Jets 5-2. I guess I'll start with the Rangers, Pags. New Jersey has a real good team this year, but they're young. They're a big team. The Rangers, though, they look like they might be able to make a little mini run here. I don't think they'll make the Stanley Cup, but I think they're going to do well in the playoffs.
It's going to depend on what happens in the Boston series, I think. I think the Rangers can make a little bit of a run here. I'm a big fan of Zibanejad. I think that, like I said, he's one of the most underrated players. But they're going to go as far as Shesterkin takes them. They are too much for the Devils. I think that the Devils are going to lose in this series. What did they start the 2 games at home? I think both those games were in Jersey, and the Rangers kind of took care of business there. So I think that series is just about over. The interesting series is this Toronto. Can Toronto get over the mess of not getting out of the first round ever? And I'm not sure that they can. I think that that's going to be a really tough series with the Lightning. The Lightning has been to the Stanley Cup in the last 3 years. They are, and Toronto's not been out of the first round in the last, seems like 30 years. So yeah. I'm not sure. They absolutely had to come out and have that type of performance last night against the Lightning. They were down 3-0 at the end of the first period and got booed off the ice. This game, they were up 3-0 at the end of the first period. So this is going to be a little bit of a series. I think that the Lightning was overmatched in that first period and really in that game yesterday. That Toronto was, that they may have shot their load last night.
I think I kind of indirectly asked you this yesterday, Pax. who's under more pressure to get out of the first round? The make-believes who are under enormous pressure. They've been under the microscope for years with their first round getting eliminated, or the Boston Bruins, who now find themselves tied 1-1 with the Panthers. I think the Bruins by far, because they've had
I disagree with that. And the reason why I disagree with that is because, first off, Toronto has not been able to get out of the first round of the playoffs, and they have spent a lot of money, and they have a tremendous amount of talent on that team. For them to not get out of the first round again, I think it would mark, I think it's like 12 or 13 years. It's a ridiculous number. That's why I said 30, for them to not get out of the first round of the playoffs. And the fan base over there is just as angry as the Flyers fan base. So I can understand why, they
let
need
me
to
tell you why, because the Bruins have had a once-in-a-lifetime year. The make-believes can come back next year, maybe get out of the first round. It's one more year of misery, one more year of abuse with the franchise if they don't. But the Bruins are never going to be in a position, in all probability, to duplicate the type of year they had this year again. And to have the type of regular season they did and to be eliminated in the first round, when people are going to look in the record books, look at the teams that got eliminated in the playoffs. The Bruins set an NHL record, and
but that doesn't matter, though. That's the problem here. That's the problem with hockey. So you think about the last time this record was broken by points, or that was tied by points, and that was the Lightning that did it. And they got swept in the first round. What happens is that when you roll over the league so much, I mean, they lost 14 games all season long. They lost 14 games out of 80 or 82 games. Think about that. Like, that's like a basketball record. You don't hear about that in hockey very often.
They won the 2 Stanley Cups back-to-back and then went to finals the third year. So people will remember that success more. I understand.
Right, and you know what? Boston could do that. Boston could do that next year.
If they win the cup next year, right, that would minimize it by a lot. I understand what you're saying, but assuming neither team wins the cup for a good amount of years to go, it'll stand out more like a sore thumb, a Bruin elimination.
I disagree. I disagree because when you have a great regular season like that and you've broken the record, that's your history there. You know what I mean? If you win the cup, that's great. That actually just shows that puts you as one of the best teams of all time. Right now, you've got the regular season record. That's all it is. That's really, think about all the different things in hockey. Like when I think of some of the best teams of all time, I think of the Montreal Canadiens with Ken Dryden and some of the people that they had on that team, that would win cup after cup after cup. After that, you don't really think of like what were the amazingly great teams that were able to play. I think of the Red Wings with all the Russians. I think of maybe like one of the Lemieux teams that had some great firepower. I think of the Edmonton Oilers, who was able to do all that what they could. You could think back in 1980 with to 84 with the Islanders. They could kind of get into the mix. I'm not concerned. I don't think that there's pressure, obviously, on Boston to win the cup. However, there's not as much pressure on them to win the cup as there is on Toronto to win this series.
Yeah.
That's the difference. I think that there is a tremendous amount more pressure. If Boston doesn't win, if Boston doesn't get out of this series or doesn't win the cup, it's they're going to say, oh, they had a great season. It happens all the time in hockey. You can't find that second gear when you've been blowing past people, and that's the problem here. Every playoff team finds that next gear, and the fact that Boston may be having a hard time finding it right now isn't as ridiculous as you would think.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Canadian teams, the Oilers, they do beat the Kings 4-2. The Knights beat the Jets 5-2. Why hasn't there been? I mean, the Canucks, I know, made it to the Stanley Cup, but that was kind of a fluke thing. How come the Canadian teams haven't been as good lately as they've been in the past? Pags, do you know?
So the Canadians have really been reeling ever since they lost Price, ever since Price retired. They haven't replaced the goalie. That's part of the problem there. They've got a little bit of young talent, but it's starting to get a little older now. Suzuki's actually a really good guy, a really great guy to try to build a team around. They just don't have the defense. It's they're having problems trying to fill in that spot. When it comes to Toronto gets all this talent, but they also get all the egos that go along with it. And when it comes down to it, talent can win in the regular season, but you need to have a team to win the Stanley Cup, and that's the difference. You don't just win on the talent alone. Because talent, you can score goals in the regular season. You need to be able to be cohesive. And you need to be able. So what they did yesterday is when they had the odd man rushes, they were able to score on them. They were able to take advantage of the mistakes made by the other team, by the Lightning. That's what allows them to do that. You can't do that unless you're playing as a team. When you're playing as individuals or you're just playing on talent alone, you're not able to do that type of stuff. You're able to make up for the mistakes that you make if the other team has only got talent. That's the difference between game one and game two.
And Edmonton Oilers really haven't been that good since Gretzky left. Am I correct with that?
Well, I mean, they have tried to figure out what to do now that they got Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid is, he's a generational talent. He's probably the best talent that Edmonton has had since Wayne Gretzky. Obviously, he gets lost up in Edmonton because nobody cares about Edmonton anymore. But they finally got some pieces around him to help him. That's why he was able to score 150 goals. Ultimately, they are, I think that they're still like third liners away. They need some real good third liners. They just don't have that. They don't have that third line. They have really two checking lines, two like fourth lines, a 1 and a 2 line. So I think that's part of the issue that they're going to run into when they start going up against more complete teams. I think the Golden Knights have a more complete team. I think that even the Kraken may have a little bit more of a complete team than Edmonton does right now, just because of the way that they were built.
Okay. Do you have a Stanley Cup finals? Do you have a pick that you can give us, Pags?
So if I'm going to guess, again, this is where I go. I like to go into conference championships rather than the actual finals because it's too hard to call. I think the Lightning really still could pull that off and get up there. I like the Rangers, but I don't know that they have enough. Really, it's the Hurricanes. If I had to choose, if you tied me down to actually make a choice for the Stanley Cup, I like the Hurricanes against the Golden Knights.
You're muted.
Are the Islanders done? I know we talked basketball, and when the Nets were down 2-0 against the Sixers, we were both saying mail it in. Any little chance they had is gone. Do the Islanders still have a realistic chance if they could grab Game 3 going back home? Could they possibly extend the series to 7 games, and then anything could happen at that point?
I tell you, I find the Hurricanes are just way too strong and way too well coached. Rod Brindamore has been a favorite of mine for a really long time, and I tell you, not only is he like the best, probably one of the best coaches in the league. I think that he's probably one of the best players on that team if he puts skates on. You know what I mean? I tell you, he's in fantastic shape. He could probably be out there crushing people right now. And I think that translates some. When you take on the identity of the coach and the coach is out there and like I said, he always is in a shirt and tie, but that guy, he is a beast. He's still a beast out there, and that team takes on his identity, and I think that that's just really hard to beat. I think that the Islanders could steal one or two if the goalie gets really, really hot, but that's it. I think that this series is over, and they may make it back to Carolina for Game 5, but they may not.
Okay. My pick for the Stanley Cup, Pags, is the Golden Knights versus Boston, and Boston wins it. So.
I don't know. I think Boston's got a really tough fight on their hands. They're going to have to go up against the Lightning next if the Lightning was to win. And I think that's going to be a real tough series. I think that's the reason why I don't think that the Rangers have enough to get past the Hurricanes. Again, a goalie can make a big difference in all this. And I don't trust the Boston goalie. Boston won most of these games because of their defense, because of the style that their coach has done. But I think that a goalie could make a big difference. And I just don't think Boston's got the goalie that can carry them.
Is Toronto become extra dangerous if they finally make it out of the first round? Now they're playing with house money in a sense. The pressure would be off. Would that make them a more formidable, opponent than that?
Maybe. I mean, you could use that as the springboard. Toronto making it out of the series changes the way everything goes. So Toronto would wind up going up against Carolina, and I think that actually changes the dynamic of how everything could go, because if Boston does get past this series, which is an if, I don't know that they will, because the Florida Panthers play a style that could really stymie. And when you're going up against one team for 7 games, you are able to start to figure out the nuances of that team. So I wouldn't be surprised if Florida was to win this series. However, I do think Boston is the better team. But if Florida was to win this series, you wind up having, I guess, them go up against Carolina, and Carolina would crush them.
Well, credit to Toronto yesterday with all the tension they had in the arena to jump off to a 3-0 lead. And basically, it allowed the team to calm down, not to panic.
They absolutely needed that, too. They absolutely needed that.
They got everyone behind them again, that they could right the ship. That was
had the Lightning scored the first goal of the game,
Yeah.
That would have changed tremendously. That would have that they would have been sunk. I think that they would have been so demoralized. So they needed to come out, and they scored. I think they scored within the first 3 minutes or something like that.
They made a they kind of made a statement that they're like,
that they're for real, a little bit more for real. Hey, listen, now they got to go down to Tampa, and I tell you, Tampa is, is tough to play at home. You know what I mean? There's a reason why Tampa's been to the Stanley Cup for the last 3 years. I thought and I said it 3 years ago. I said that it was Tampa's cup to lose. And then 2 years ago, I said it was Tampa's cup to lose. And then I said last year, I thought Tampa started to get old, and but they still may have had enough to beat Colorado, and they didn't. Colorado actually outdid them. So, but Tampa may be old, but they know how to get to the promised land there. So I think that that's what carries them here. And I think Toronto starts to get, like I said, that hiney hole pucker. Once they start to lose and they start to squeeze, they just, they're going to wind up getting beat.
And of course, my pick with the Knights and the Boston Bruins is subject to change, as Jack knows. Once the playoffs start. A little boxing news, Jack. Could you hit us with a little boxing news?
Yeah, tomorrow night, big fight. Gervonta Tank Davis against Ryan Garcia. I'm sure with an $85 price tag, if Pags is doing nothing, he'll order the fight. Figure $85. Listen, it's a very good fight. It's an excellent fight. I think we all get caught in the hype no matter what. Because I'm watching the press conference, like online. I'm tuning to it. And it was a lot of, fun, like to actually see, Garcia and Tank going back and forth. A little distasteful to hear like the two of them saying they're going to break one another's jaw, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, kind of like street kids. But at the end of the day, they're both unbeaten. And so it makes for a heck of a fight. I like Garcia to upset Tank, raise a thin decision, get off to a good start. But what struck me is this. Ryan Garcia is the much bigger guy than Tank. And they had all these rehydration clauses. Garcia's got to make a certain weight, to kind of make it hard on him. But to see the way Garcia's built, he looks terrific. And I'm going to assume it's all through his good workouts and this and that. Okay, we're going to leave it at that. And he's going to be the much bigger man in the ring. But the question is this. Garcia does sometimes pull back, his chin's in the air. Tank's a big puncher. When he hits Garcia square, is Garcia going to be shock-proof? Is he going to be able to take the blows that Tank lands now and then? You can't afford to get hit too often by a Tank Davis, who's a big puncher. My feeling is, being the bigger guy, he might get dropped. I think he'll ultimately be able to absorb Tank's power. Tank will come on late in the fight. I think Garcia is going to forge to an early lead because Tank is very methodical. He tends to give away rounds while he likes to figure his opponent out. And I think Garcia escapes with a controversial decision. Close fight, a bit of an upset. They have supposedly a rematch clause in there for Tank. So, we'll see how it plays out. But it's a very interesting and unpredictable fight because Garcia's got a great left hook himself. Both guys could get knocked out early. It could go the distance. And Tank is favored to win this fight, And Tank is one of the more marketable fighters in boxing. But if Garcia wins, that's going to elevate him to one of the more marketable ones. So, we'll see what happens. Fun fight. Not a strong undercard on balance for what they're charging people, $85. If you subscribe to the Zone, that app, then it's $60 to get.
Well, I saw some of the video clips of Tank's knockouts, and he is a devastating puncher. But I saw Garcia too, and I think if Tank can't put him away earlier, Garcia will win. I think he'll stop him in the later rounds, Jack. If Garcia can hang in there, I think he can stop him in the later rounds.
It might happen. It's so unpredictable. I mean, because both guys have a great one punch, but I get the feeling that Tank's chin might be a little more reliable than Garcia's. Garcia's unpredictable. There's no evidence he can't take a punch. He got knocked down heavily by Luke Campbell. But Luke Campbell was an Olympic gold medalist, a very good pro, and he just happened to catch him. Any fighter can knock down anyone else if you catch him right. If we saw Garcia hurt on multiple occasions, then I would be concerned. But for one punch, it could happen to anyone. I mean, before Muhammad Ali won the world heavyweight title from Sonny Liston, Henry Cooper hurt him badly and knocked him down with a left hook the fight before. So what were we going to say? Oh, Clay couldn't take a punch, so he doesn't have a chance against Liston. It happens to everyone at one time or another.
Sure. So you're taking Garcia.
Garcia on a close one. I'm going to take Ryan Garcia. Close, tight decision, probably controversial when all is said and done. But it's so unpredictable because either guy could score first round knockout. It could go the distance. I don't have a complete handle on the fight because with Garcia, we're judging a lot of him based on his potential. He's a very good amateur. He's been boxing all these years. Tank Davis is kind of moving up on weight. Tank Davis, too, you wonder with his training where his head's at because he's going to get sentenced in a couple of weeks. He might have to serve jail time. Chances are he will. So that's got to weigh on your mind in some way, shape, or form.
Sure. I agree. Jack, I know they've got a the boxer dinner coming up. The awards, the Boxing Association of America.
Boxing Writers Association. Yeah, well, that's going to be June 8th in New York. It's going to make up for like 2 years. the fighters of the year and this and that. It's basically the Academy Awards of boxing.
Maybe you can get us some film from that if you can, Jack. See what you
Well,
can
the
work
film,
out.
I'm sure we'll have something online there, Mac. I'm glad you didn't
Okay,
ask
great.
me for tickets to the event.
Why not? I think I'd be welcome there. Pags,
Yeah,
I know
well,
you were.
yeah. You know, I mean, listen, there are no free tickets to go along. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm putting my foot down with that. All the people that are asking me from now on, I'll let them know where they could purchase it. Come on.
Jack, you're talking to your buddy here. What are you talking about here?
Yeah, okay, Mac. But what have you done for the BWAA to have? Yeah, I mean, come on, Mac. I don't have the power.
I give
can
him plenty
barely
of
get
publicity,
myself
Jack.
in
I give
now.
him plenty of publicity with you being on the show, telling him that you're the former.
Mac, I'm not in charge of tickets, Mac. I get my
Pags. I understand you were doing a bartending thing. How'd you get in with that? Everything work out all right?
We raised about $2,300 yesterday on Thursday night at the University of Delaware, which, trying to deal with college kids is not the easiest, trying to get money from them. But it was a fun time. There was a lot of people that came out and supported us. And this is just the kind of start of things. This is that time of year where we're raising money for the Eagles Autism Foundation. And we have there's a number of charity events that I'm going to be doing just this week alone before I go to the draft and really start to, then I really start to make some noise down there because, of course, yours truly is going to be front and center at the draft. The NFL loves to show that silver head of mine.
Yes,
with the mohawk. Yesterday was like I said, about $2,300. The guy who did it, was 302 Birds, is the podcast in the group that do things, and they're big Eagles fans, and just the way that they were able to make stuff happen really was a great thing.
Very cool. I'll be having an interview with Phil McConkey, former Giants wide receiver. Kind of a hero in the '86 Super Bowl with that famous video clip they show every time of catching the ball off Mark Bavaro, pitching a touchdown. And that'll be on Northeast Streaming Sports Radio. How about that? Did you know?
Well, I'm going to tell you. No, that's pretty good. What you're having those interviews there, Matt.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of Pags wanting to get his face on ESPN and all. If the Eagles trade down, Pags might not get on. There's no need to have him on. If the Eagles aren't on the clock, they're not going to have Pags on.
Do you want to bet on that?
Why would they have you on?
Do you want to bet? I bet you, and the one thing that I have found out, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back because I am not a better fan than anybody else that's going to be in that building, is just that the NFL knows sometimes what brings in the people. And my facial expressions beat a lot of other people's facial expressions. And I can just do it. The camera loves this face for some reason. Yes. I don't know. I don't think that I'm that pretty. But I tell you, the camera always likes to find me. And it doesn't matter whether the Eagles are doing a pick or not. Plus, I have a personality that kind of stands out when it comes to that.
In all due respect to you, and I'm not saying you don't, I defer to Mac in such matters because Mac's been known to have much better judgment than me and you as well. For example, case in point, Jetman. He's a charismatic guy, who's come on this show. I mean, he has a little more charisma than you have.
You do? You think that? You think that?
I think he's
that.
And this is somebody who also thinks that Keith Hernandez is just got, he's probably one of the best announcers out there, right? That's one of the best color guys in baseball. Yeah. That's that. Stick to boxing there, Jack.
Anything ever happened to you like happened to Jetman? Someone tried to be another Jetman too. There were two of them, right, Mac? And has anyone done that with you, Pags? Tried to be the Philly sports guy, steal your thunder?
So, I mean, you could say that I actually am copying somebody else. That there was a guy who was before me, who painted his face, who wore the shoulder pads, and I've literally some of my look has come from what he's done. And he's a great fan. He still does what he does. There's enough room for more than one fan who does what, Jetman and I do. You know what I mean? It does. There's no rule that says, hey, he's this type of fan, so you can't be. You know what I mean? You could be any type of fan you want to be.
Right. But you do have the rights to the Philly sports guy right now, right? You do have the rights to that.
I am the Philly sports guy. Nobody else could take that name,
Right.
or like even my look right now is as trademarked.
Well, let me tell you, getting just the hard card with the Eagles with the draft, because that's one of the big Philly sports days of the year. Obviously, for any city, just about. Yeah. But in Philadelphia, there's a lot of anticipation. They go number 10, if I'm not mistaken, right?
10 and 30.
10 and 30. I don't see the Eagles trading down. I think they'll be too good of a play. That running back Robinson, who's supposed to be one of the best players, I have a feeling Howie Roseman, very smart GM, is bold enough not. And the Eagles need a running back. That plugs up the position there. So
I tell you, I was talking about this with people yesterday.
That's how the Eagles go right now.
I'm telling you, I think that would be a strange pick for them. Am I saying that it's impossible that they would do that? No, but I think that would be a very strange pick for them. Truth of the matter is that it doesn't matter who they choose. I'm gonna go ahead and cheer for them either way. But that they have traditionally chose big guys or cornerbacks in the first round. So my expectation is that they have more of a chance of choosing. It would be less of a surprise to me if they packaged both those picks to move up to get the what is it, the defensive end from Georgia? Who's going to be like, I think Carter.
Will they deal with the baggage that Jalen Carter might bring? And there are other red flags. He was a little overweight, at the combines. I understood the.
I was gonna say, for somebody who doesn't put much stock into the combines, I'm not. You're always talking about how the combines don't matter. So the fact that he's a little overweight in the combines.
But I do it in reverse. A guy's stock never goes up at the combines. To me, it never goes up. I don't want to. It's a delusion, but. A sign, not how the guy performed at the combines, even though I heard he didn't perform well. The idea that you're showing up there overweight, that's a bit of a red flag. I still would take a guy like that high, Jalen Carter, but is it worth a number 10 and a number 30? I mean, come on.
I disagree with you guys on two things before we leave here. One, I think the Eagles do trade back. They've got to they got to get some rookie collateral down there. And they got to build up the draft picks with all of the vets they got in the big signings. I think they need some smaller contracts. So I think they will move down on the draft. And I think Jack is very interested about, the face painting and your character and stuff, because I think he's going to be the new New York Jet, fan. He's going to go up against the New York Jet fan we have right now to see who will be better. You'll see him in his red cape.
No, I'm not cut out for stuff like that. The Jets have another, guy, super fan, Fireman Ed. I don't think the Giants have anyone. Not every team has someone.
Right. Some don't need him. Some don't need him, Jack. Some do. So anyway, thanks for joining us today, folks. Glad to have you on. Comments, views, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Mac and Jack Sports Show. Jack this Monday won't be in. They'll have a co-host in there with Frank Lutierzo. Glove Fist, right? And give them the name again. Who's going to be there?
Bernard Fernandez, a long-term boxing writer for the Philadelphia Daily News. Great writer in the International Boxing Hall of Fame.
Very cool. So, and we also have Pags, of course, is always doing his charities. He's all around getting geared up for the NFL draft, which you will be live on our draft show Thursday. To remind everybody, we won't have a morning show that day. We'll be going to the draft, which will be all-nighter. So we'll let Jack get his sleep before they come on. So, folks, have a great Friday. be careful out there. If you go out there and drinking and carrying on, be careful. And we'll see you tomorrow on the Mac and Jack Sports Debate Show with Pags and Dr. Paul. We'll see you. Have a great one.